Have you heard the news?
Which news? There's always news.
Oh my God. This is crazy. This is crazy. Mutants are eating your pets.
What? Oh my God. They're eating my fish.
They're eating your dogs. They're eating your cats. You know what? And if your cat's a mutant, they'll eat them twice.
Oh my God.
It's out of control. Okay, guys, I know this is so stupid. Welcome to Simply Amazing. I'm Lisa, aka the OG Nocturne, and we've got, of course, the wonderful, fabulous, one of my favorite people in the entire world. Still has her little David S. pumpkins. I mean, right next to her. I see it.
It's coming, guys.
Spooky season is here, and we are all about it. Well, there you go, Lauren. How you doing, girl?
I'm good. I am hungry. But that's okay. It motivates me to think more about Kurt. That makes no sense. I don't know what I just said. Don't worry about it, guys. The only thing that matters is that I am actually hungry.
No, she's hungry and she's thinking about Kurt, which means there are hot dogs in her mind. So, you know.
I actually don't eat hot dogs anymore. My stomach hates them. Fun fact.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's the most random thing. It's like I don't think it's anything in them. It's just probably how they're made. You know, they're terribly processed and crap like that.
They are terribly processed.
I used to eat them all the fucking time. That might be it too. My stomach was like, enough of this bitch.
It could be. I mean, here's the thing. I grew up in like New York, which is like, you know, right by Coney Island, which is like the hot dog mecca of the world. And I'm going to tell you that every once in a while I get a real hankering for a hot dog. But I've been to Nathan's in Coney Island and it's awesome. It's such a cute, whatever, everybody knows. But the reason, everybody, I bring up politics as we begin this is because we are getting into X-Men Red issue 2. And I don't know about you, but as soon as like they had that whole thing with the news guy, the first thing I thought to myself was, they're eating the pets. They're eating the pets, like that guy from the news in the issue.
Yeah, no, they definitely, in this issue with X-Men Red #2, they definitely point out that kind of the different dialects, for lack of a word, putting it, with, you know, the points of view. Oh, well, maybe there's something more going on here. Maybe we should get more information first. No, how could you say that? Blah, blah, blah. Like it's
don't ask questions, make judgments, ask questions later. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's interesting because this is from 2018. We're in 2024 now. So, you know.
It is interesting. I mean, this is the one thing, and before we get into the issue, I'll just make my little art thing. But the one thing about like just creating and art is not created in a vacuum, and I speak of art very, very openly. I mean, really anything that is of creation of a person is a work of art. Like a comic book is considered a work of art, and of course there are different levels. I mean, you know, you're not going to hang a X-Men Red #2 next to the Picasso at the MoMA, obviously, but it is something. And the thing about art is it always will reflect the things going on around it, no matter what's happening. It's always going to reflect what's happening around it. And so there you can closely see that there's, you know, Tom Taylor is very much in tune with the politics of that time specifically. But I mean, looking back in hindsight, after, you know, now 6 years later, and where politics has gone, it's like you can see what he's writing. You can see it, and it just feels so pertinent. And I really like that. But it's also done in a way that's not like, you know, saying one side is this and one side is that. And I mean, of course, because really the sides that exist in this comic don't exist in the real world because there's no such thing as mutants. But let's get into the issue, right?
Let's do it.
Well, we start off being introduced to a brand new character, which 9 times out of 10, I'm like not digging the new characters that they introduce. Like, especially when a new writer comes and like takes on a book and they decide to introduce a character. I mean, a lot of times that character is a flash in the pan, but like, I actually really like Trinary. So they introduced Trinary. She's a technopath. She's being put in jail in India because we don't know what she did.
I wanted to point something out. This is #2 is the issue that he hasn't fully grown it in canon yet, but the cover is Kurt's beard. So before we get too much into it, I just had to point that out, y'all.
How dare I forget that? Oh my God.
God, I'm Lisa, sorry. How could you? Like, it's right here. It's just.
I'm sorry. I would like to formally resign from the pod officially.
No.
Effective immediately.
Accepted.
Kurt's beard is on the cover, and it's a pretty cool cover. So but basically, Trinary is thrown in jail by the Indian government, and they use what happened with Jean Grey in last issue with the woman, being killed, or the senator, or whoever she was. They use that against her in a way, as like, kind of an idea of like, whatever you think, the mutant tide is turning, you think that, you guys are all great, but, humans are coming onto you, and now look, you guys are killing senators. So we're going to get you taken care of. And then that just goes straight into pitchforks and
the usual,
tiki torches and, Charlottesville realness, just, and the pundits. And, like Lauren was just saying, it's like, you've got the one side saying, well, hold on, let's get the information. And we got the other side saying, no, they're eating the cats. They're eating the cats. No, we can't get information. They're eating the cats. There's not enough cats for them to eat. So, okay, sorry, I don't like to get into politics, but I love that the man who brought up the idea of eating cats has most certainly never eaten anything close to a prostitute in his entire life. Anyway,
got him.
That's why. Okay, so from the pundits and everything, we go to Wakanda, which has offered asylum to the mutants on the run, which is just at this moment, it's Jean, Kurt, Laura, and Gabby. And I forgot how much I love Gabby in this series. Like, she's top tier. She's the GOAT of this series. I'm going to say it.
She is. Yeah, she is just so fun. I would kind of compare her personality actually to like Miss Marvel and like the MCU in terms of like quirky and silly, but in a really endearing way. And also still very badass. I mean, Gabby's got a bit more of the badassness to me than Miss Marvel and the MCU does. But yeah, she's a ton of fun. Like at one point they're like, because Jean, Kurt, and Laura Wolverine, they're in Wakanda hiding out, because they're like, fuck, we got to figure shit out. So they're hiding out. And at one point, Jean's like, how do you think that Gabby's doing with this issue? Like, Laura, like being stuck here and all that. And Gabby's just like having the time of her life in Wakanda. She's like, political exile is amazing. 10 out of 10. Would do again. Great time.
I mean, like, I'll take political exile in Wakanda. It looks pretty great,
1,000%. Send me right now.
I'll Julian Assange that shit. Like, yeah, take me, please. I mean, but yeah, she's just a fun character. I actually have a thought though about her as we were talking about it, because she's very, like, her and Laura are very different, right? They're clones, but they're incredibly different, and of course that has a lot to do with Laura's background is incredibly traumatic, right? I don't know much about Gabby's background. I never really read all of that stuff. And I wonder how it feels for Laura, having grown up the way she did and having been treated the way she did, having literally a mirror version of her as a child who's so much more carefree and obviously didn't go through those, like Gabby, I'm sure, had her own kind of traumas. But like, what is it like for her to have to like wrestle with that idea of like, wow, if I didn't go through all that, would this be me? Would this be who I am? Because there's just no other. The only way to compare this would be if you had identical twins who were separated. Well, actually, there was a great documentary about this called 3 Identical Strangers, which if you haven't watched it, guys, go watch it. It's about 3 identical twins who were separated at birth purposefully, because it was done as a scientific experiment. They wanted to do a sociological experiment to see nature versus nurture. So they had these triplets who were born to a very young woman who her intention was to put them up for adoption. She was never going to keep them, but they were adopted out intentionally separately and one was adopted out to a very high income family. One was adopted out to a middle class family, and one was adopted out to a very low income family. And the really fucked up thing about it is the families, none of them knew that the others existed.
Oh, shit.
So when it all came out, the big thing was the families all came forward and said, like, if I had known there were triplets, I would have taken all of them. Like I would, like I never, they never wanted them to be, none of the only one, no one consented for the children to be separated except for the scientists. But of course this happened back in like, I think the 50s or 60s. So, things were a little bit different back then. I won't tell you guys, I won't spoil it because it is a really good documentary, but things don't go great for these poor gentlemen. So anyway, but yeah, I think that would be that'd be kind of an interesting thing to see Laura kind of I don't know, but it's could have already been written. I haven't read it yet. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember because Tom Taylor, who wrote the series we're talking about now, he also did All New Wolverine, which really put Laura as Wolverine in the spotlight, and it's phenomenal. I've read it all. It's been a few years since I've read it though, so I can't remember how much they go into that, but I would wager if they have it was somewhere in that line.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
would figure too, because I think that's where Gabby was introduced, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. So, yeah, I mean that stuff's tough, and at the end of the day, I think kind of part of Laura's character that's also similar to, Logan is at the end of the day, yeah, she can be like, dang, I could have like been different. I could have been better. But at the end of the day, I think she becomes more focused on, well, she has it better than I did. And I want to keep it that way,
Yeah, no, that's one thing I will say I've noticed a lot. If I think that can be that attitude that we're talking about can really be seen in how she is a very much a nurturing and like protective person when it comes to Gabby. Like she's very, especially in
Mhm.
this series, she's very much that way. But we're also introduced to another character here, Gentile. He's been around for a while, but we learn more about him. And turns out that like his power is like he gets really strong, but it makes it painful. I don't really know much. I never really know much about him. I know
Yeah,
he
I
like
don't either, but like that sounds like such a curse. Like
yeah,
0 out of 10, like negative, like so you can get stronger, but you also get put in more pain. Then how are you even really stronger? Like to me, that's an interesting concept too, because pain itself, like you and I are just analyzing the shell thing say, but pain is a very unscientific concept. It's very hard to measure and gauge and really define what pain is other than ow,
yeah,
it hurts in some way. And there's also different types of pain. So to get like so I guess he gets physically stronger, but he gets in more pain. And it's like, what kind of pain is that? And so yeah, I can see why they haven't touched on it because it would be crazy trying to answer any of those questions and not like piss people off. But
yeah.
it is fascinating, but it's also terrible. Like I would be like, absolutely not. I hate being a mutant. Don't recommend this. But he also says that he has to keep it under control. So he has to meditate. Like,
That's
I
the
don't
one.
understand that either. Like, is he like the Hulk in that way too? Like, if he gets angry or something comes out. I don't know.
I don't really know. I mean, like I remember him as a character back in like the 2000s. I think that's when he kind of was created. He was like of that
Oh,
era. And I do remember him as a character back then. And I remember him just meditating a lot. I don't remember much else. So, but
yeah.
but actually I actually like him in this series. Like literally this series, there's not a single character that is added to this book that I'm like, that's a bad ad. Everyone is I love everybody. So
Yeah.
I'm down. Gentile, I barely know you, but welcome to the team.
Right.
So but they're distracted away from that by a phone call coming in, and Trinary, it turns out, before she was thrown in jail, managed to send a message to get to Jean Grey to let her know what she did and what's actually going on. And Trinary, being the boss babe, badass bitch she is, took like tons of money from all the billionaires and gave it to all the women of India because they get paid 25%. So
Oh, yeah.
we're girl power,
I
as they
love that
say.
shit.
I
Like,
know.
fuck him up.
And Gabby's like, icon, mother, she is mother. Like,
So true.
yeah, she's like Trinary's brat.
It's Brad.
I
Lisa, you're
feel
doing good. You know all these things.
I feel so old. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I would not know this language if there wasn't an election going on, because I think it's just because of the election and everybody's trying to use all the fucking
Yeah.
Gen Z lingo. So skibbity
Right.
toilet, guys. Um, so basically she ends her call saying like, please come help me, and I think I can help you, but I need you to help me. And Gabby's like, we must go help her. And so is Laura. They all decide to go to India. And
Yeah.
they use I mean, again, just I mean, I love it. Just the headscarf disguise is like my favorite non-disguise in comics, because it's just like, oh, you just put a headscarf on. Okay. Like, I can still see your face. It's
I think it's like it's gotta be like second to the glasses, like just regular glasses. But no, I agree. I think too it's one of those things where like, people kind of just duck their face while they're walking around in them. And yeah, like if you're not the kind of person to wear a headscarf, then people, I guess, I don't know, like a lot of these like really silly disguises, they just rely on like our terrible perception as humans and our like ability to be oblivious or to like choose to be
Yes,
oblivious. Like you see something, you're like, that doesn't look right, but then you shrug it off and walk away. We do that
that's
so
true.
much.
The other thing too is like, for example, Kurt is there and he's wearing like a sweatshirt with a hood up. And I'm like, I mean, he's still a blue guy with a fucking hood on. But this is a different world where there are lots of mutants. And, here's the thing. If I walked past a blue person, the first thing I would do is be like, oh, is that Nightcrawler? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Fucking facts.
yeah. Well, like, so I'm assuming in this world where more, mutants exist, that it wouldn't be so like, oh, is that guy who is an X-Man? Or it's just like, oh, there's a freaking blue mutie over there, whatever. So, we're expected to, suspend our disbelief for enough, so we can do it for this too. But Jean manages to use her powers to convince this guy that he's buying coffee while she's getting all the information she needs to find out where Trinary is. And Gabby is just so happy to take his money, like literally.
Yeah, she's like, fuck around and find out. Sounds good. And I do want to say one thing I'm loving with this shit is how they're just showing like Jean using her powers so easily and so consistently, and how like not necessarily powerful it is, but just how like effective and helpful her powers are, like consistently. Like she's like they're standing right with this guy watching him. He thinks this, he basically can't see them or whatever. Gabby literally says, can I poke him? And she goes, I guess.
Yeah.
And then like so it's just like Jean's powers are so helpful and effective and efficient, and she's clearly incredibly powerful, which we all knew. Like, why don't we see her doing more of this shit in like regular X-Men comics? Because she would run circles around like half the other mutants easily.
100%. I mean, like, there are plenty of stories in the past of Jean being out of control, Jean trying to control her powers, and Jean learning to control her powers. But let's be real about this. She's like, think about it from the standpoint of a person in a career. When you start, of course, it takes some time, but eventually it becomes second nature. And I think that's what it's like with Jean at this point. This is second nature. It's as natural to her as me using my hand to pick up my remote. It's as natural to Kurt as using his tail for something. It's just like it's second nature. It doesn't, it's like another appendage to her. Just reaching out with her mind.
Too, like in this case, kind of having the cuffs off in terms of like, oh, we have to be the perfect like X-Men as Xavier raised us to be right now. So we can't do this, we can't do that. She doesn't have those limitations right now, so she can just do whatever she feels is necessary in that moment, whatever she believes is the most helpful, effective, best option in that moment. And that's what she's doing. She's not having Scott in here like, hey, how did Xavier teach us? And and even Scott's not there. She's not in her own head about it, right? And I think that says a lot too. And I'm interested to see them explore in the current continuity with like, oh my God, is it even worth getting, Xavier back after what happened with Krakoa and stuff? Like, is it? Because maybe the X-Men are like kind of better off without him nowadays. Like he tethers them to these limitations, but
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Like, I also think that it shows that she's very good with, she's very like quick on her feet with improvisation. Being able to come up with it, like so she sees him walking down the street, and she goes into her mind, and the first thing she sees in his mind is that he's on his way to get a cup of coffee. So it's like, okay, let's use this to create the coffee, like to create this idea that he's coming to us to get coffee, so that I can actually have the moment, like I can have the moment with him uninterrupted to really go into his mind and figure out what this girl is. So yeah, it shows she's a tactician. It shows that she's good on her feet. She's a good leader. This is what it's showing us, and right now we're in a, right now there's no team. Right now there's no X-Men. Right now, this is just a couple mutants who have kind of come together and are saying to themselves, all right, well, some things need to be done. So how are we going to handle it? But it's very informal. But this shows like, I guess the point I'm making here is like she's rising to the level of being the leader of the team without someone explicitly saying you are the leader of the team. You know what I mean?
Right.
And of course she's going to be that because Jean Grey has always been a figurehead and she's always been a martyr character in X-Men. So it's like she's always going to be the leader. But so they they managed to get the guy to bring him in a van to where Trinary is being held, and Jean stays back to guide them while Kurt, Laura, and Gabby go in to extract Trinary. And Gabby is like, don't go poking around in my head, please. There's just stuff you just need to see. It's very cute.
She's really just like, so I thought about this girl, but I don't know what to do with that yet. So please just leave that alone. Which, is kind of funny, that line specifically, in terms of if you think about how Jean, like, and this is terrible canon, but in canon it's still that Jean like knew Bobby Iceman was gay before he did.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's just like, don't do that shit to me, Jean.
Let's be real. Jean is going to know everyone is gay before they do because Jean is in your fucking head. You know what I mean? And I guarantee that Jean found out about Rachel and Kurt in this moment. I bet you a million, because later on it comes up, but I bet you $1 million bucks, like, because I didn't even think about that. And like now, this is the first time I put actually these pieces together, because if this is the case and this was intentional by Tom Taylor, this is brilliant foreshadowing and like brilliant. But if it wasn't intentional, take the credit and run. All right,
just go for
take it. Because basically what he's done in here is he's set up that, Jean is going to be in their head and she's going to be working with them. And Gabby's like, oh, there's stuff in there you might not want to see. Please don't poke around. There's definitely stuff in fucking Kurt's head she doesn't want to see, because did she really want to see her daughter having sex with another man? Probably not. So, and they did, like, and anybody out there who's like, they probably didn't have sex. No, they definitely like hinted at it in X-Men Gold, and it was probably uncomfortable, and Rachel probably hated it, and it probably just wasn't great. But Kurt's never going to give up on a relationship, so he would have stayed. He was going to propose. He was ready to marry her, and she was like, holy shit, what have I done? What am I doing? Anyway, that's coming up later. I mean, not even in this issue. So basically they go in, they get her out. I really love how Tom Taylor writes Kurt. I really do. I love the scene where he teleports in to get Trinary and he's just like, "Gut Abend, Fräulein." I love it. I think he does a great job. He's got a great handle on the character. And I like that when Trinary meets Honey Badger, the first thing she says is, "Aren't you a little short to be an X-Man?" Which is
yes,
adorable.
The Star Wars reference, which I was further just like, Tom Taylor was really pushing that like not straight Gabby agenda. He was pushing that shit hard, man.
Can I tell you, I did not even pick up that it was a Star Wars reference until you said that. I literally did not.
Oh my god, that's no.
I know, aren't you a little short to be a Jedi? I know.
Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?
Oh, stormtrooper, it's not Jedi. That's right. I'm sorry. God, listen, I haven't watched the originals in a long time, okay? But
it's okay.
You're right. Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? So, no, but I will say that I see the reason I did not even think Star Wars, because I took it as, I mean, she's talking to a clone of Wolverine about being short. That's what I thought was funny.
Also, Logan is short.
That exactly. That's the funny part to me, is that there's one character in X-Men. I will say this. I'll say this actually in Marvel. There's one character in Marvel that is known that part of their, and granted, it didn't translate to the movies, obviously. However, in comics, part of their character is how short he is, and that's Logan. So there you go. I mean, thank you though for reminding me that Star Wars is a thing.
I like it all the ways. It's okay. I accept all these ways.
It's totally fine. I mean, like, to be honest, Star Wars is such. I mean, it was such a like little independent project. Who saw it?
Oh my god, who are you?
I mean, I don't know. It was about, what is it about, the USS Enterprise?
Man, you're gonna get Star Trek fans mad as fuck.
Well, you know what? My favorite villain in Star Wars were the Cylons. They were
amazing.
I
thought the Klingons were excellent.
Yeah, oh no, Klingons? No, I think that's Battlestar Galactica. Anyway, come at me, bros. So there is an issue, because as they are doing the extraction and they're successful, however, the townspeople have shown up. And again, Jean showing that she's the badass that she is.
Yeah.
Like, with one wave of a hand,
makes them all sleep at once, except for like 3 of them. They got something going on in their minds. And then Kurt freaks out because Kurt's like, I can't feel her mind. What the fuck?
So yeah. Oh yeah. Well, before we get to that, because I want to talk about Kurt not being able to feel her mind. Before we get to that, do you think Jean, as a parent, would use that on her kids?
I think it's I I think especially with how she was taught by Xavier to again with the the cuffs, right? The metaphoric cuffs of you need to limit yourself, you can't take advantage of people, you can't do stuff for personal gain. Everything you use your powers for has to be justified, like all this stuff. Don't think she would do it normally. I do think though, like she'd be really tired one night, they'd be driving her ass crazy, and she would just like because she's on autopilot, her body, mind is on. She just puts their ass to sleep, and then she realizes, oh fuck, I should put them to sleep. But then she realizes the world didn't end; they can still wake up. And so then she's like, okay, I can do this a bit more often, but I can't get caught by Scott because if Scott sees me do it, he's going to kick my ass.
Yeah. The thing is like, so the reason I bring it up is, I don't know if did you watch the Umbrella Academy?
No.
Okay. So in one of the earlier seasons of the Umbrella, so one of the characters in the Umbrella Academy, she has like her power is basically, she says, I heard a rumor, and that whatever she says after that comes true. So it's like, but she uses it a lot as like psychological, to control people. And there's one episode where she uses it on her daughter, and it's a big thing about, it's a big, huge thing because she uses it on her daughter. And, I always thought about that, we like, these kind of things with telepaths and everything, just the, what kind of things will they do? And, because they made such a huge deal about what how much she had crossed that line by doing that. So, because I don't put it past Jean, I don't like, the thing is I think that Jean is more moral than Xavier, but the problem is that Jean learned a lot of her morality and ethics from Xavier. So, I
don't think, unless it were a situation where like she was like being taken control of by the Phoenix or something, I don't think she would ever do something like you just described in the Umbrella Academy, to her own children willfully, especially if like she is her better self. I don't think Jean would ever want to even do that. I think the only way that would happen is if like the Phoenix Force got hold of her and made her do it or some shit. Xavier, I would say doing that to like his X-Men, or if he had his own children, 1,000% he would do that shit too. Who's to say he hasn't? I mean, we found out what he did to Mystique and Destiny, and like, okay, they kind of asked for it, but at the same time, like, what? Like, anyways, I'm sure over years and years, decades more canon, we're going to find out all this shit that Xavier has further done to his X-Men over the years. Like, there's no fucking way he hasn't. Jean, on the other hand, like, she's clearly fucked up still. I think every telepath crosses boundaries, whether by accident or they decide to, like, maybe Emma Frost, and again, Charles as well, but, and I love Emma, but, she had her evil ride, so, that's a good question, but yeah, it's all circumstantial, I think.
Yeah. So Jean managed to put everyone to sleep, except there are still 3 people, and one woman has a gun, and she notices there's something else inside their head. And spoiler alert, this actually is a huge, this is basically the story that we follow for the entire series is what's going on here. And then, as Lauren had said, Kurt immediately feels Jean not inside his head. And I feel like we don't really hear much about the relationship between Kurt and Jean, but I do believe they have a very close relationship. I mean, Kurt names his daughter after Jean in one of them, in one of those, in X-Men, Age of X-Men, the Age of X-Men Amazing Nightcrawler, he names his daughter Tenia Jean. So, I mean, it's clear there's a very close relationship and that there's a lot of love there. And that's the one thing I love about this issue is they're very much, I mean, there's such a closeness between them that I really like. And it's not, I mean, not romantic in any way, but it's just, I really enjoy their friendship in this series. And Kurt is immediately out there, but she's fine. She just had to separate from them in order to be able to focus on what's going on. But turns out that Mr. who, didn't get his coffee that morning. Maybe if he had gotten his coffee, he wouldn't be so mad. Let's be real.
Right. Maybe.
Like, Jean, this is your fault. But Mr. he brings on the Sentinels, and that is where we stop.
It's always Sentinels with X-Men. Always. They always find a way.
I love it. And, and I mean, of course, we know the Sentinels the Sentinels become a big part of this series for a lot of different reasons. But then we actually do get the team that we're going to be introduced to for this series, and it's announced as Gentile, Wolverine, Honey Badger, Namor, Trinary, Nightcrawler, and Gambit, and with Jean Grey. And again, this is the best team in X-Men comics that I've ever read. I love every single one of them.
Like, your man Gambit's in the next issue too.
Yep. There's just not a bad, and I think we talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but I love when they take characters that are known for being in couples and taking them and allowing them to really shine. And this issue has two of them. It's Jean and Gambit are both couples that are just like, they're known really mostly for their relationship. I will say 1,000 times, I know that people will go to battle for Rogue and Remy, the Romy of it all, but I think I like Gambit without Rogue. I really do. I think his stories without Rogue are so good. I mean, the Gambit series. By the way, guys, me and Lauren have discussed maybe reading the Gambit series that Fabian Nicieza did in the 90s on here eventually, because that series is that is one of my absolute favorite series of X-Men comics too, is that Gambit series. So I love it. We're going to keep reading this too, obviously. So great issue.
Yeah. Well, you just killed a bunch of Rogue and Gambit fan dreams there, girl. Like, they're gonna come for you. But it's only fair because I killed the Scott and Jean fans when I was like, they need to stay away from each other. I don't need Scott and Jean to ever be anything more than like work at from Parks and Rec, what Ron Swanson says, workplace acquaintances or approximates. That's what they should be at most nowadays. That's it.
There you go. I agree. So I mean, we're, like I said, we're going to keep reading this. Of course, when the next Uncanny X-Men comes out, we'll definitely read that. I think you guys have noticed we're going on a little bit of a different schedule just because there's a lot of upheaval going on in mine and Lauren's lives at the moment. Not good things. So,
Yep, just adult life,
Yeah, it's the thing about being an adult is like, you can't just read about comics and talk to your friends all day. I mean, sometimes you got to go to work. So
I know it. It is so fucking disappointing. Listen, I will tell you an honest thing about being an adult. So I started doing this comics podcasting stuff when I was still like working retail and stuff. So I had way more time in my life because I worked, and then after that, it was like I got nothing else going on. Nowadays, I have a completely different job, which I'm very thankful for, but it's so much more time consuming. And I have an active partner in my life now, which is wonderful. And I got, you get all these great things in your life. There's a lot less room for other things, but it's okay. We still make time because this is simply amazing. So
absolutely,
we got to be here.
Absolutely. For some reason, when I put something in my sink, it doesn't get washed until I wash it.
What? What is that about?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Honestly, I clearly am not paying the nobody who lives with me enough. So, all right. So I want to just touch on one thing because we tweeted about this. My girl has shown up on the cover of a comic recently.
Yes.
Nocturne. What issue was that it was on?
Oh, I don't remember which one. I'd have to look at it. It was because it's four connecting covers by one artist, and I think it was either Uncanny X-Men #1 and it was the connecting cover variant, or was the X-Men #1, and these are the newest runs. So like
got it.
The current Uncanny X-Men. If it's not one of those, then it is, the other options are Exceptional X-Men #1 variant cover, or what's the other one they're doing? I don't know.
Is it NYX?
No, it wasn't that. I can't remember. Oh well, yeah.
But
if anybody's super curious, just bother us. I'll get you the specifics.
But I desperately, okay, Marvel, I know you're listening. All of you, everybody there. I know you're listening, Marvel. I just need you to listen. Number one, Nocturne does not teleport. I cannot stress this enough. Nocturne does not teleport.
Listen, maybe Kurt teleported her and then he dipped real quick. It was super quick, so the Banff was still there.
It's possible, but I also really, really desperately want Marvel to remember that that Nocturne also has a mother. that's the thing is that like the problem with these characters, let's be real, the problem with these derivative characters is that they tend, like, Laura is a perfect example, right? So she's Wolverine's daughter, and so they really lean heavily on the Wolverine of it all, right? But to be honest, Laura doesn't really have a mother. Like, she does, but her mother isn't like another character. Her mother isn't another.
Oh my God, no! Right there, you need to read All New Wolverine. I'm giving you homework. You cannot talk about her mother like that. You need to read All New Wolverine.
No. I know what you're saying. No. I know what you're saying. I'm not saying her mother is not a real character or is not relevant or whatever else. I'm saying that, like, Nocturne was introduced as the character of two well-established Marvel characters.
Valid, yeah.
That's the point I'm making. So it's like, I know she looks just like her father. I know she like takes after Kurt in that way. However, please don't forget her mother, because there's so much to be said for that side of the family too. I mean, think of just take out the Scarlet Witch of it all. I mean, that's Magneto's fucking granddaughter. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much connection there. I beg you, please don't just focus on the Nightcrawler of it all. Like, don't focus on just that, please. Make like here's, because the other thing too is we've already done all that. All we've seen is her relationship with her father and meeting her father and all that different stuff. I would love to see her meet her mother. I would love to see her meet her uncle. I would love to see her meet even meeting Mystique and Destiny. I mean, Rogue, anything. Give us anything else. That's all I'm asking. Just give us anything else.
We've seen Marvel. Give us everything. Don't go give us nothing. Give us everything.
Give us everything. Don't give us nothing. That's all I'm saying. So, well, thank you for listening. Thank you for my TED Talk. And Lauren, tell them where they can find you.
At Friendly MBHDBI on social media everywhere.
Wonderful. And you can find us at simplyamazingpod.com. All of our socials are there. We're on Twitter mostly. I don't know, who knows what's going to happen next. I know people are moving to Threads, but I have not made that. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten to that old dog new tricks level of my life where I'm just like, I'm done. I don't know. I'd rather just not even be on Twitter.
That's how I am with the social medias at this point. I'm like, listen, if I'm not on Twitter, you can, if I'm comfortable giving you my number, you have my number, or you can add me on Discord. That's it. Exactly. I'm tired of 20 social medias, y'all.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. Well, come find us. Let us know you love us. Let us know you hate us. Let us know whatever, let us know what you think of the issues. If you want to come on and talk to us about it, we'd love to have people on all the time. And if you are out there listening to this and you are thinking to yourself, I can't think of anything to say right now because I have no creativity. Well, don't worry, you're so simply amazing.